Hi everyone, I'm Sri Jayanti, a PhD fellow in Fondazione Italian Fegato or Italian Liver Foundations, and in collaboration with University of Trieste, Italy. In this moment, I represent my group, consists of Rita Moretti, Claudio Tiribelli, and Silvia Gatsin. In this occasion, I will explain to you our project regarding curcumin neuroprotection from kernicterus to Parkinson's disease. We will start by explaining what's neonatal hyperbilirubinemia. It's a condition characterized by yellowish discolorations of the skin and conjunctiva as a consequence of increased levels of serum bilirubin during the first weeks of life. Hyperbilirubinemia in neonates is a benign condition in the majority of cases. However, uncontrolled and rapidly increased blood bilirubin level more than 20 mg per deciliter can lead to dangerous conditions. In which stage neonatal hyperbilirubinemia should be intervened? Based on American Associations of Pediatric recommendations, the management of hyperbilirubinemia can be determined by plotting the total serum bilirubin level to postnatal age per hours. If the total be in the green area or under the threshold, it means no need of intervention. However, if total serum bilirubin level above the threshold, there is a possibility of low, intermediate to high risk of acute bilirubin neurotoxicity which can lead to permanent neurological sequelae or even death. Those are the reasons why the newborn in this stage immediately require intervention, including phototherapy and exchange blood transfusions. Kernicterus is still worldwide present. As you can see in the graph, it still happens all over the countries and responsible for neonatal death, as well as major neurological impairments, including hearing loss, represented by white bars, and athetoid cerebral palsy, represented by black bars, especially in the developing countries in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. Nevertheless, kernicterus also is still found in developed countries, including United States, Canada, United Kingdom, and European countries. The question now, why is kernicterus still occurring? The first reason is there is an inadequate parental knowledge about neonatal hyperbilirubinemia and its prenatal and postnatal risk. The warning sign when the baby should be brought to the hospital that should be explained by medical worker is still needed. The second one is the inaccessibility to healthcare, especially in the rural area. And the third is the delayed diagnosis, for example, due to the lack of diagnostic tool, including the total serum bilirubin measurement kit. And the next one is the availability and effectivity of therapy. The current modality of therapies, phototherapy and exchange transfusions, are not widely available, especially in rural area. Or if they are available, the practice is not effective. For example, in Nigeria, the majority of PT practices are below the standard recommended by American Associations of Pediatric. Since all the current approaches, phototherapy and exchange blood transfusion, need to be performed in highly equipped hospital, and the presence of severe hyperbilirubinemia in rural area which has relatively far distances from highly equipped hospital need immediate treatment, an alternative approach is highly needed. And the rationales for the alternative approach are: it will be compound able to counteract in situ or in the brain bilirubin-induced damage without necessarily decreasing the total serum bilirubin level, and can be easily stored and administered. Our group spent several efforts to find alternative treatment to overcome these obstacles. After a wide search of compound, we came out with curcumin, a nutraceutical compound that has protective effect in reversing cerebellar hypoplasia in gun rats. We use gun rats, a long-timely known model for neonatal jaundice. It's characterized by cerebellar hypoplasia and the increased level of total serum bilirubin. Here is our in vivo results. The white bar indicates the control or the normobilirubinemic gun rat. The yellow one is the hyperbilirubinemic, and the blue one is the hyperbilirubinemic treated with curcumin, and the gray one is the normal treated with curcumin to evaluate the collateral effects. This is the histological panels. The first row shows the cerebellum. Here we can see that by comparing with the normal one, there is a significant reduction of cerebellum size or cerebellar hypoplasia in hyperbilirubinemic one, which is in agreement with the reductions of cerebellar weight up to 33%. Meanwhile, complete protection against cerebellar hypoplasia is observed after curcumin treatment and in line with the cerebellar weight that's similar with the normal one. The second row shows the external granular cell layer thickness, the areas that's shown by the red square. The 50% reductions of thickness in Hyper 1 is totally reversed by curcumin administrations. The same manner also is shown in the Purkinje cells, the light purple rounds pointed by red arrows. The significant decrease of Purkinje cells number in Hyper is fully restored after curcumin treatment. Meanwhile, overall treatment of curcumin in normobilirubinemic doesn't show any toxicity effect. Furthermore, the curcumin treatment improves the behavioral test by reducing the time needed for acting reflex and negative eutaxis. And the other important finding is the curcumin treatment doesn't affect the total serum bilirubin level, indicating that the protection of curcumin is due to its direct effect in molecular mechanism of damage in the brain. To unravel how curcumin protects toward bilirubin-induced neurotoxicity, we evaluated the molecular mechanisms by measuring the protein level of inflammation, glutamates, redox imbalance, and brain development markers. In the table, we can see that by treating hyperbilirubinemic gun rat with curcumin, it reduced the protein level of inflammation markers, including interleukin-1 beta and TNF-alpha, glutamate content, and also decrease redox imbalance, and also affects the brain development markers including ACAM1, MEC, and NBP. We have demonstrated that curcumin treatment encounter multiple mechanisms involved in bilirubin-induced damage in the brain. But is it the end of the story? Or is there a possibility to expand the use of curcumin toward neurodegenerative diseases that share the same mechanisms with bilirubin neurotoxicity, including inflammations, glutamate toxicity, and redox imbalance that common to all neurologic and neurodegenerative disorders? We have an interest in Parkinson's disease, the fastest growing movement disorder, which is predicted to be double in 2040, and it still has no definitive biomarker available, and we still rely on symptomatic treatments. And one of the main caveats that make Parkinson's disease pathogenesis remain largely unknown and has no disease-modifying therapy available is due to the lack of model that can represent the early stages of human Parkinson's disease. Our group have developed an ex vivo model that can mimic the slow progressions of dopaminergic neuron sufferance, the main characteristic of Parkinson's disease, by using organotypic brain culture of substantia nigra. From this ex vivo model, we have gathered the information of dopaminergic neuron loss, the hallmark of Parkinson's disease, induced by rotenone treatments, a pesticide that has been proven to induce Parkinson's disease in humans. The panel depicts the dopaminergic neuron loss in different time courses. From the bar, we can clearly see that dopaminergic neuron is starting to decrease after 12 hours of rotenone treatment, and it significantly lost more than 50% after 24 hours. To be noted, this time course mimics the clinical stage of human Parkinson's disease, in which most of patients are estimated to lose 40 to 50% of dopaminergic neuron and lead to obvious tremor, rigidity, and dyskinesia and diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Moreover, this model also shows the changes of dopaminergic neuron morphologies, including the decrease of neurites number, which start to decrease after 3 hours treatment of rotenone, and the reductions of neurites length. Besides its ability to reproduce the stage of human Parkinson's disease, the Bragg staging, this model also offers benefits to investigate the preclinical stage in 3 hours of rotenone treatments, in which the initial mechanisms of disease are started, including oxidative stress and inflammations, the similar mechanisms shared in bilirubin neurotoxicity. Having the previous data about the curcumin protection in severe hyperbilirubinemia by acting as anti-inflammations and antioxidants, and the shared mechanism in Parkinson's disease ex vivo model, our question now is, could curcumin be protective in Parkinson's disease? We have started by co-treating different concentrations of curcumin and low dose of rotenone for 24 hours in our ex vivo model. Our data shows that curcumin 10 micromolar is able to increase the dopaminergic neuron number up to 90%, and the effects decrease in higher concentrations. This preliminary result emphasizes that curcumin is possibly a promising therapy for dopaminergic neuron sufferance, the hallmark of Parkinson's disease. And the highlights from these presentations are: curcumin treatments reverse cerebellar hypoplasia by acting as anti-inflammations, antioxidants, and counteracting glutamate neurotoxicity. The second one is PD ex vivo model depicts the dopaminergic neuron loss and molecular mechanisms involved, including inflammations, oxidative stress, and glutamate neurotoxicity. And our preliminary data of curcumin treatments in Parkinson's disease ex vivo model shows the reductions of dopaminergic neuron loss. Future perspective. We still need to complete the work in Parkinson's disease model regarding the molecular targets of curcumin. But after that, the big questions remain to be answered. How to translate these findings in clinical settings? Could curcumin also be protective in humans, particularly in bilirubin-induced neurotoxicity and Parkinson's disease patients? If it can confer protection in humans, which are the molecular targets that curcumin can reach as a nutraceutical compound? And finally, how to translate the use of curcumin into a clinical protocol. The last point is the most challenging part in the context of Parkinson's disease, due to the late diagnosis of this neurodegenerative disease. It's a long way to go, but we believe by expanding these investigations, it will be reached sooner or later. In these occasions, let me thank my group for their endless support and professional contributions that have been leading us into this stage so far. I would like to address acknowledgement also to all my colleagues in Fondazione Italiana Fegato or Italian Liver Foundations, who has been accommodating a very friendly scientific growing space for us. Also for LPDP, Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education, and University of Trieste, Italy, and special credits to our video director and editor, Noel Salvozza. And grazie mille. Thank you for your attention.